One of God's choicest servants in our Free Methodist family is Reverend Phyllis Sorter. Phyllis's experience of being kidnapped and living with the gripping fear of not knowing what the next hour or day would hold is an incredible reality for those of us living today in the fear of this national and worldwide pandemic. I encourage you to take a listen to what Phyllis has to say and see how her experience is so connected to what we're going through today.
My name is Phyllis Macy Sorter, and I'm sitting here at Seattle First Free Methodist Church, which is my home church, right across the street from Seattle Pacific University, which is my alma mater. I grew up in Mozambique, missionary parents, Victor and Susan Macy, and God called my husband and myself to return to Africa as missionaries. So we worked as under the Free Methodist Church in Mozambique. We worked in Rwanda, and then we were posted to Nigeria. And I'd been in Nigeria now for about 15 years. So back in February of 2015, I was standing in front of our Free Methodist Church. This is my Free Methodist Church right here in Seattle, when a group of 7 masked and armed gunmen rushed in and grabbed me, kidnapped me, threw me over the wall and dragged me up the hill behind the school. And that was the first time in my life that I was not free. I experienced this total loss of freedom, and I experienced terrible fear, not knowing what was going to happen next, not knowing what was going to happen to me from one day to the next.
What happened that morning? What were you doing?
So I'd been working with Governor Wada here in Lokoja on opening a grazing reserve, but we only had 100 hectares of land. And so I had gone and requested that the governor help us with 900 additional hectares, and he agreed. And Janet and Jacob and I were standing in the shade of the trees. We were just thrilled. It was like the pinnacle of success for us that we were getting this extra land. So all of a sudden, I heard gunshots, and I saw men coming running toward me, and I just sort of froze. I didn't, I couldn't comprehend what was going on. And they began to drag me over toward the wall that is around the compound. The man who was on the right-hand side struck me hard across the face once and then twice. He said to me, "This is the day that you're going to die." Fear is a terrible thing. And just the same way that we feel so imprisoned in our homes, and we turn on the television and we hear the news reports, it's obvious that we feel fear. I felt terrible fear when I was in the bush. There was a time when day after day, their boss, the kidnapping boss, would not accept the amount of ransom money that we were offering him. And day after day, I was threatened that they were going to take me back and sell me to the witch doctor, either whole or in pieces. It didn't matter if they didn't get their money right now. And I remember one time I was sitting down in that hole, and I was just feeling so afraid. And my eyes went to the bramble bushes that were across from me, and all of a sudden, it was like I saw a cage there. And in the cage, there was lying this desiccated body. And I looked, and then it went away. And I looked again, and there it was again. It was like a figment of my imagination somehow. But that body in that cage was me. I mean, I was so afraid that this is the way I'm going to end up. And you know what? I had a razor blade. I had asked Ismaila to give me a razor blade to cut my fingernails and my toenails. And I have to admit that at that moment, I was so afraid that they were going to take me back to that witch doctor, that I just was ready to slit my wrists and just get it over with. But God came back, and he just filled my heart, and he told me, "Don't be afraid. I'm with you. I'm going to see you through. You're the apple of my eye. I love you. I'm going to save you. Take heart." And so I called Ismaila and I gave them back the razor blade. But that's the kind of fear that a lot of us are feeling right now in this world, having to stay in our homes and dreading the idea that somebody in our family is going to die of this virus, or maybe we ourselves. And I just need to say, we have to take heart. God is with us. He has a plan for our lives. He's not going to abandon us now. Pray to Him, trust Him. God will do it for us.
And Sarah, we have one particular hymn we're singing often and often that period. I must tell Jesus all my trials. Jesus alone can help me. That was the only hymn we're singing all the time. And each time we come together, we sing the hymn and we began to cry unto God that He can deliver us. I must tell Jesus, so that the Jesus, I cannot bear my burdens alone. I must tell Jesus, I must tell Jesus. Jesus can help me, Jesus alone. Amen.
I didn't know if I could ever go back, seriously, because any time that I even remembered the witch doctor, I would just have this panic attack. And I kept saying to God, God, if you want me to go back, you need to give me a sign and take away this fear. And it was Easter Sunday morning. I was in bed here in Seattle, and I turned on the TV to try to distract myself. And here there was a church service beginning, an ecumenical church service from, I think, Minnesota. And it was an African American church. And he began to preach about the story of when the three women were walking to Jesus' tomb. And they were talking among themselves and they were saying, but who will roll away the stone for us? And the whole message was, God will roll away the stone. Whatever stone there is in your life that's blocking you, blocking your peace, blocking your ministry, blocking your joy, ask God, He will roll away the stone. And all I could do was raise my hands because it was for me. God was telling me, I will roll away the stone. And my fear was gone. And I knew at that moment, I picked up the phone and I called Bishop Kendall. And I said, Bishop, I'm going back to Nigeria. I have to go back. There's no problem. And my fear was gone from that moment on. God healed me and gave me that sign, you're to go back. And I went back. And when I went back, it changed everything. Nobody expected me to go back. And where we had 3 Fulani schools, we have 9 Fulani schools now, from the southern part of Nigeria all the way to the northern border, all over the country. We have grazing reserves, we have clinics, we have sewing projects, we have a city of refuge where new Fulani converts come and are discipled and sent out as missionaries. This is God's work, and it would never have happened if I had not gone back. We should ask God, what can we do right now, that will be important for the kingdom, for afterwards when this whole thing is over with. And let's work toward, let's have in mind that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, that it's not over for us, it's not over for our family, it's not over for our world. And let's work toward a better world when this thing is over with. And let's see what God will do. I mean, He's already bringing people together in a way that we never expected. He's already bringing out love and generosity in people that never showed it before. So who knows what can happen at the end of the day? So we need to take heart and to work toward that time when this is over with. Many of us have lost jobs. We've lost our freedom. We're afraid. And I'm sitting here as a living testimony to what God can do. So as we're sitting here in prison right now, I just want us to be courageous and to trust God and to keep praying to Him to help us to make it through this time. And at the end of the day, we're all going to stand up and sing together, "To God be the glory, great things He has done," because He will. He will do it. He promised He would, and He will. You can turn away. You can say, "No, God, that's not interesting to me. I don't want to do that." Or you can say, "Sure, I'm willing to do it," and go that path. There was no hesitation for me. I mean, I knew that this was something that I could do with Mogodi. And that's why we just went and did it. And it's worth everything. It's worth dying for. You know? I don't mind. It's worth dying for. We're in the middle of making a film, which is going to be called Kidnapped Redemption. And we still have a lot of work to do. The film crew is going to return to Nigeria again and do some more work. But we needed to share this story, this little film clip with you now, right in the middle of this situation that we're finding ourselves in the world, because there's such a connection between my kidnapping and imprisonment and how we're all feeling today. So this is just a little clip, and we're hoping that you will watch it, share it with your friends, and we're hoping that you will follow along with us as the film progresses, and when it's finally finished, that you will be able to see that and give glory to God. Somewhere in that deep forest, there's a little Fulani village that I was in captivity. He said to me, "This is the day that you're going to die." Growing up, this was my home. There was no insecurity. We didn't have to have police going with us wherever we went. These were our friends. These were our people. I committed to working in Nigeria among the Fulani. The Fulani are nomadic. They have cows and sheep, and that's their life. It was through Mogodi that I learned about the trouble. The cattle that were rustled, the cattle that were stolen, the cattle that were killed. There has to be a solution. Educating the next generation is the key. Mogodi looked at me and he said, "Please, open a school for my children." Ahmad was an enemy of Mogodi. He was trying to do everything he could to stop that school. That's when he kidnapped me. They pulled a woolen ski mask over my head and struck me hard across the face. They dragged me up the hill, and many more miles until it began to get dark. Nobody will know where I am. Nobody will be able to find me. We entered this clearing. In the center, there were some boards. The smell of blood assailed me. If I ever wanted to get through this thing alive, I couldn't have this mentality of being a victim. I'm a strong woman. Look at the people that were depending on me. I turned to the leader of this gang and I said to him, "What's your name?" He said, "I'm Alhaji Ismaila." I said to him, "I'm Reverend Phyllis."